The Week with Ben Ellis.
This is Switch.
Now, whenever I'm lucky enough to broadcast on Switch Radio, you might be familiar with the way I tend to finish my shows. I always, when running through the lineup on Switch Radio, say, this is your lineup for whatever day it is on the best community radio station in the business. And that's something I've always believed, that it's not just a tagline. And this week, Switch Radio has gone a long way to proving that that is definitely the case. We have had, and this is very self-indulgent, we are going to brag about ourselves for the next however long we want to do it. We have had a fantastic week on the awards circuit, because on Thursday night, Switch Radio was named Radio Station of the Year at the Birmingham Music Awards 2020. That was a real shot in the arm for ourselves. We beat some well-established names in the business as well to that award. And then Saturday night at the annual Community Radio Awards, so the community radio sector come together nationally, and all the various categories, gold, silver and bronze in all the categories. Switch Radio was nominated in 5 categories. We won gold in 3 categories and bronze in a 4th. Absolutely smashed it on the night, and we are absolutely delighted. And there's only one person we can talk to talk about such a wonderful level of success, and it's our own Dean Kavanagh, who behind the scenes is the station manager at Switch Radio. As we're talking, it's Saturday night, and we've been watching the awards sort of remotely on YouTube and what have you. What state are you in right now, Dean, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, so without trying to reveal too much, my best friend is in a sport ball with us because he's a single parent at the moment, and so I thought I couldn't watch it on my own, because one of the great things about the Community Radio Awards is, year on year people get together, they're able to discuss things about the community radio, and there's a bit of networking, and I thought I can't possibly watch Community Radio Awards on my own, so I'm around my best friends watching it now. But how do I feel? I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I said earlier on Twitter that we're not in it for winning awards. You don't wake up and open the studios on a Monday morning thinking there'll be a award in this somewhere. But it's often the case that you sort of forget kind of what you actually do until someone congratulates you on it. So it's great to have been so successful this week. I mean, in terms of a week, it's probably one of the best we've had in all 2020, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's run through the Community Radio Awards. The Specialist Music category was won by our own Priya Mutharu for Desi Beats. The Sports Show of the Year was won by the Switch Radio Sport Team, the Gold Award. The Innovation of the Year was the News Hub, which we're a part of at Switch Radio, who provide a lot of material for this show. And we picked up a bronze as well for our coverage of the general election this time last year. As you rightly say, Dean, you don't go into these things thinking there's an award in this, or we're going to do very well here. But when you get acknowledged by your peers for what you've done and the work and the effort that you've put into something, and I know firsthand, it's extremely satisfying.
It is, and I think so. What I would say from my own perspective is that there's no question about it. Is that essentially when you're a station manager ultimately on Switch, you really are just a glorified email pusher, right? And I mean, that's understanding it somewhat, but in reality, you are kind of trying to move people around and shepherd people to do one thing or the other. And sometimes, and I'm sure a lot of people can empathise with this, is that it's somewhat underwhelming how it feels sometimes, when you sort of think you're kind of moving pieces around on a chessboard, and it's easy to forget that actually, it's easy to forget what you're actually doing on the ground and what your organisation does on the ground. And then when you win awards and you have sort of competitive things like this, you realise actually, do you know what? Switch is doing real good stuff in the community. And all that time that you spend doing stuff that nobody ever sees actually is really worth something. And it's delightful, honestly, and I can't tell you how much it is when you see people who are, young people who are, quite fresh in their careers, who are bagging themselves awards like this, and you think, that really does mean something to their future prospects. I mean, I think that's really what we're all in it for, actually. So, in some respects, you don't go into it for the awards, but actually, when you get some kind of gratification that you've done a good job, you've done something right, I think actually is correct.
We go back to let's say February of 2020. Coronavirus is gathering pace. Switch Radio is a 100% volunteer-led organisation where the presenters are giving up their free time at unsociable hours at weekends, in fact, to deliver quality output for the community, essentially North Birmingham, but we go to Solihull and Sutton Coldfield and further across Birmingham as well on things like DAB. How concerned were yourself and the powers that be when this was gathering pace that there might be a danger that we won't be able to put a coherent radio station out here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, the thing actually is that, and I don't want to name any specific funder because I don't want to say any funder is more important than the other, but we were lucky enough actually just immediately prior to there being a lockdown to have received a grant from a local funding organisation that actually allowed us to pay to upgrade our kind of software-based solution. And while it may sound like a small thing, you bought some new software, you bought a new tool, what it meant was actually that now we could really begin to record shows from home. We could begin to allow people from their own kitchens and their bedrooms and their bathrooms and whatever to record their own shows. But we couldn't do that before. That wasn't something that was available to us before. And I mean, that cost us money. It's not, we had to pay the software company for that. It was a couple of £1,000. But had we not received the support to do that, that would never have happened. So when they said, lockdown's here, you can't travel, you can't go to the studio, so on and so forth, the fact that we were actually in the right position at the right time to say to people, well, this isn't actually a problem. We have a solution. You can record from home. Actually, was a godsend, and really it essentially relied fully on support from a grant funder. And actually, Thomas Dale was the funder of that. They funded that. They supported us with that when we needed it. And the Thomas Dale Foundation helped us. The Thomas Dale, I mean, they got us out of a hole, actually. And our ability to say to people, you can now routinely, not complicated, not some very complex system, you can routinely record your shows from home. I think not only got us through that small period that we found ourselves in, but also unlocked, the ability for, like yourself. I mean, obviously.
Well, absolutely. I mean, look at this show.
The video will show 100% you're not in the studio, right?
Yeah.
That funding supported us to allow this to happen. So, I was being unfair earlier when I said I wouldn't say who they are. The Thomas Dole Foundation helped us when we needed it to support us to put that software in place. So, I can't thank them enough.
Yeah, let's quickly go through the Community Radio Awards that we picked up. Because I think it's interesting to point out that with the exception of the bronze, and we were delighted to get the bronze for the general election coverage last year, the 3 gold awards, so specialist show for Priya, Desi Beats, Switch Radio Sports, and also the News Hub, these were all things that were happening during that lockdown period as well. So was it Every Cloud Silver Lining, Green Shoots, and all of that? But I mean, if we go back to the bronze with the election, I mean that's an award that goes back 5 years since we first did the 2015 general election. And we knew that we could do something like that on the night, and it evolved into something amazing on location at the Count last year, which has been rightly rightly recognised. But if we look at the goals as well here, Dean, the news hub, like we said, because of the lockdown, we needed something that we could guarantee our audience a place where they could pick up their local news, and it does supply a lot of the material for this show. So absolutely, the 100% deserved gold award for the news hub.
Well, I think the nice thing about the news hub is that this may or may not have swayed the kind of the entry somewhat. Is that I think we saw a problem in that, you know, it's really important to deliver local news, particularly in times of, you know, crisis. And there's no question in the middle of March we were in a crisis, right? So, you know, the options were you either forget your responsibilities in terms of local news, or you double down and do whatever you can to make it happen. And you obviously went for the second. And as a result of that, we built a technology tool that allowed presenters to record from home, and not only record from home, but in a way that understood the fact they were at home. So we had tools that allowed you to cut out kind of noise in the background and sorts of bits and bobs like that, you know, boring technical stuff. But it was really built on what we needed at the time. And I think that's what helped sway it in the awards, is that, you know, it wasn't just something we did because we felt like it, or something that we did because, you know, it was a thing we were interested in. It was something we did because at the time we needed it.
Yeah.
And we didn't need it for a laugh. We needed it because the local community needed us to deliver local news. And for that reason, we built the news hub. And I mean, it's fantastic to get a gold award for it. I mean, it's great. I mean, I shouldn't dwell on this because this sounds a little self-indulgent, but Switch has entered the Innovation Award in the Community Radio Awards twice, and we've won both times. And, you know, it's nice to be at the forefront, I think, of innovation in the sector. And as we promised in our application, we'll make this tool available to the rest of the sector, and hopefully they'll find use with it. Yeah. But you know, we in reality we had a problem.
Yep.
We fixed it with computers, and it's amazing to have been recognised for that.
Yeah. And I remember it well. And as I say, I take no credit for anything to do with this at all. I said, look, this news hub thing's brilliant. And I came to you, I said, I've got this idea of something I want to do on Sundays with all this information, and we've got the Zoom, and I can get interviews on, and we can do something that'll be rather interesting. And from there we have the week, and we've had a lot of fun over the last 6 months.
And actually, you know what? I think a lot of the stuff that we have now in terms of local news. So, you know, in terms of the LDRS, which if people don't know is the Local Democracy Reporting Service, funded by the BBC, managed by the BBC, is for organisations like ourselves a godsend. I mean, essentially what happens is you have paid journalists who kind of collate stories and share them with you. But we kind of thought that just talking about them once a week and posting them online is not enough. We need to make bulletins, and that's really where the news hub came from.
Indeed. And
you know, it's a great thing. It's a great feature, and I'm delighted that it won a gold.
Mm-hmm. And moving on to the sports show, Switch Radio Sport. I mean, I was thrilled when this was announced, because it was something that I was involved with a few years ago, stepped aside from it. Kevin Moore and his team have just taken it on sort of leaps and bounds, and it was like when it was announced, it was like watching your kids graduate. And
I mean,
I couldn't be happier.
I mean, the thing with the sports show is that sometimes it's very easy to kind of just listen. I tune in on a Saturday and I hear a sports show and that's it. But to think that is it, and to think that, you know, the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes is very difficult to appreciate. So, you know, when I often get messages from Kev, and, you know, it's a Tuesday night, it's, you know, 9 o'clock, and he's interviewing someone at St. Cuthbert Ladies. And then Wednesday, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Is it Romulus? And you just sort of, it's very easy when you listen on a Saturday to hear one interview after another and just forget the fact that somebody has to go and get those. And it's a delight for me, really, that sport has won an award because and there's the other thing as well to say, and I don't say this in any kind of competitive sense, but if you think about what other larger organisations offer, so the BBC, for instance, would offer FM and DAB splits. So you can hear one commentary on FM and another commentary on DAB. The fact that we're offering that at community radio station level is phenomenal, and that's not just a technical thing. It's not just the fact that I can help do that in a technical sense. We need people at the ground. We need people that are willing to go and commentate on games. And I think actually the award really is just a kind of pat on the back and a kind of appreciation of the amount of work that goes into the sport. And it's not just about commentaries. If you look at our women's football podcasts, they are phenomenally popular. Today will be Sunday for you, but today is Saturday for us.
Yeah.
James Sixsmith and the hockey podcast we played earlier. I mean, the breadth of what we're putting out in sport is great. And again, we're not here to win awards, but at the same time, it's great to kind of have a little pat on the back and say, you're doing okay, you're doing a good job.
Do you know what I'm looking forward to? I'm looking forward to in 20, 25 years' time, if we're lucky enough to still be around, putting on Match of the Day, Sky Sports, or anything, and hearing a voice that came through Switch Radio.
I mean, here's the thing, right? So if we take Ben McPhillips, for example,
absolutely,
he's our normal sort of Solar Wars commentator, right? Unbelievable commentator, knows his stuff inside out. He is more through and through, right? And then Solar Wars looks to put on video commentary, which they did a couple of weeks ago against Wrexham. I think was the first time they did that. And instead of looking elsewhere for commentators, instead of looking around the world to find a famous commentator they could choose, they asked Ben.
Yeah. And
they asked Ben because A, he knows his stuff, and B, the fans know him. There's no question that Solihull Moors streams, whether it's on FM or DAB, are popular on the station.
Yeah.
The fans know him, right? So when you see, and there's an interesting story actually, which I'll very briefly discuss because I don't want to spend too long. But, so obviously, of course, Wrexham have found themselves some new owners, and one of them. So I think it was. This is going to show my appalling celebrity knowledge, but the one of them is not Ryan Reynolds. Was watching the game via video link on his laptop in America while he was filming the series, and the commentator on the game was Ben McPhillips. So
okay.
There's this because of course he was doing it for the Moors. So there's this world famous actor who had just brought Wrexham along with Ryan Reynolds, who actually was listening to Ben McPhillips as a commentator.
Perfect.
And you're sort of like, when you have this whole kind of small world thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was when I kind of truly realised it really is quite a small world.
Absolutely wonderful story.
I love it. For us, the key is giving people a chance.
Yeah.
If people are good and they need a leg, then we are the leg up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we move on perfectly seamlessly when you talk about if people are good. I mean, Priya Mutharu with Desi Beats, but let's not forget as well, Priya was also nominated for Female Presenter of the Year. So what we're saying is that every person or body that was nominated for a Community Radio Award picked up something, which I don't think, I've not examined the results carefully like we would on election night, Dean, for example, but I don't think any other, and we talk about we're not trying to be competitive, but I don't think any other station at the Community Radio Awards can claim that.
Look, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, right, as in my role as station manager, if people at the station can get a pat on the back from an award, right, it doesn't mean they're going to make it in the big time, because that really is about their own personal individual effort. But if you put in a load of effort to do something, I mean, you say Priya's a good example, right? And I hope she's not listening because she'll be like, oh, God, I'm embarrassed, right? But Priya's a great example. Right? So Priya puts in 100% effort to her show, and the passion that she has for the genre and her show absolutely shines through 100%. And if the structures that we have in place, i.e., the station and Listen Again, the website, and so forth, can help her turn that into something which is tangible for the future, then that's really what we're here for. And it really is giving those people a chance to shine. And I'm absolutely overjoyed with how we've done this week. I mean, this has been. I mean, you'll know. In fact, you will absolutely know as well as I do, right? We've been here for 7 years since this happened, right? So you may not know this, listeners, but Ben was there right from the start. We were both presenters at the same time when the station was taken over by us. He used to be part of another organisation and we took it over. And Ben again will attest to the fact that 7 years ago they told us that we didn't have a few months. They were like, "Oh, you were done in 6 months. You'd be finished. You'd be gone."
Yeah.
And then we're 2020 now, 7 years later, and we're A, still here.
Mm-hmm.
B, winning awards. C, I don't want to overrate this, but I think we're changing people's lives. We're giving people opportunities. I think actually that really is kind of the mark of.
Well, I said in a written acceptance speech, because this is not about me, but 4 years ago I couldn't be at the ceremony when there was a ceremony because my daughter was born only 5 days earlier. But I did put in a social media post the next day that point that people had said that when we took it over, you'd be gone in 6 months, and I ended it with, all I can say to those people is, we're not finished, we're just getting started. And 4 years down the line, here we are.
It was difficult as well for quite a while because it won't be surprising to think that money is an issue, right? Because it's the same problem for any community organisation or any organisation that runs on kind of voluntary circumstances. We still have to pay rent, we still have to pay utilities and so on. So it's difficult. It's financially challenging, but I think it's somewhat gratifying. I don't mean this in a sort of selfish sense. I mean, the thing is very personal, and you'll obviously know this because you was there right at the time. It's very personal for me to sort of say, this many years later, after you told us that we were done for. We're winning awards. We're, playing what I think is an important role in the sector. I mean, that's again assuming that, but I do think we play a good role in the sector. We do provide support to the sector. I think, I don't want. Often, it's too easy sometimes when people kind of wronged you in the past to think, well, I want to go back and stick it to them. But actually, I don't want to do that.
No.
Because that's it's a waste of energy, really.
I agree.
There were some times when you look in the past and you think, well, do you know what, actually, we did okay.
Yeah.
And I think Switch is doing okay. It was very, very difficult at the beginning. No question that financially it was exceptionally challenging to get the station going at the beginning. So that's why I think, and again, you were there when it happened, right? The feeling that you get when you see people winning awards now, people that have, and in fairness to Priya, she's not been here long, less than a year maybe, to see people winning awards at the station, having known the nonsense and the difficulty that we went through to keep it here, is great. And it's just it kind of makes it all worthwhile because
it does. Again,
as you know, the difficulties we had getting from taking it on to keeping it alive, it's fulfilling when you see people achieve.
Indeed, absolutely. We would never normally be this self-indulgent, but just this once, I think we'll allow ourselves. We should point out.
In your defence, Ben.
Yeah, go on.
in your defence, Ben, before you say that, I mean, the thing that listeners might not know is that me and Ben were both there from the very beginning. So at the very beginning in 2013, the station was handed over to us essentially by a charity, so they didn't want it anymore, and it was very, very hard to keep it going. I mean, we worked, not just me. I mean, we worked outrageously hard to keep it afloat. Mm-hmm. And things are better now than they were.
Yep.
But to say that we had an easy 5 years to now, 7 years to now, would be a ridiculous statement to make. It's been so difficult. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes these awards better, is that the work we put in wasn't wasted. Yeah. We didn't do it for nothing.
Absolutely.
We did it because there was an outcome at the end of it.
Yeah. Time is against us, Dean. Time is against us.
Sorry, I'm getting emotional.
I know. It's great. But there is one thing I want to point out. Of course, the Community Radio Awards, the process is that you submit an entry, 5 minutes worth of audio, a written submission. It's then judged the second time. And then a final 5 get whittled down to 3 gold, silver and bronze. The Birmingham Music Awards earlier this week is very different. And all that happened was that somebody from the Birmingham Music Awards was just listening to Switch Radio throughout the day. And
so I think with the BMAs, with the BMAs, it's not such a simple kind of, you have to submit an entry.
Yeah.
To stand how it stands. I think with the BMAs, it's a question of what are you fundamentally contributing to the music scene?
Yeah.
And I think actually Switch Radio is a fantastic amount of work in relation to Birmingham music. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of new artists find their first play on things like Tim Stenner's show. Midland's Music Guarantee. Gets a lot of music artists out,
That's right. We've been Fiona's been interviewing on this show the last few weeks. Exactly. Did a tremendous job.
So, I think, again, and I can't take credit for this. That's the presenter's work. That's kind of their passion for local music has established the station to a certain degree that when the Birmingham Music Awards judges were considering who to give the award to, they thought, well, Switch does a lot of work, and in kind of to correlate with that, a lot of people since said, Switch does great work in the community in terms of local music. So, but that's not me. That's not my work. That's their work. Tim Stenner is the guy that finds a new artist.
Absolutely.
Priya is the guy that's the girl that speaks to new artists in her genre. Fiona is the person that interviews. It's not me. It's everybody. Yeah. And I think that's the gratifying thing as to what he sits there as a sort of glorified email pusher.
Absolutely. So, general election 2019, the bronze. Innovation of the year, the News Hub, gold. Sports Show of the year, Switch Radio Sport, gold. Specialist Music Show of the year, Priya Mutharu with Desi Beats, gold. At the Community Radio Awards, the Birmingham Music Awards 2020 Station of the Year is Switch Radio. Dean Kavanagh, station manager, must be the proudest man in Birmingham right now. And Dean, thank you so very much for joining us on the show.
No problem.
For more great videos from the week, make sure you subscribe to our channel. It's down here somewhere. And don't forget, you can catch us on the radio every Sunday between 12 and 2 on FM across Birmingham, 107.5, on mobile, on DAB and online. We're made for Birmingham. This is Switch Radio.